It's a lot of layers.
It's so many
Listen,
layers.
That's a whole episode. But
Yeah.
I got one more thing for the icebreaker, and then we going to the main part. But this is an icebreaker, and I want y'all to know
keeping us in line.
it's quick. Do y'all care? The actor strike. Content is about to. I ain't gonna lie, I was blown because Gladiator 2 was coming out. They had to cancel Gladiator 2, which I'm blowed about that. That was on the way to come here. They was about to create Gladiator 2. They're not creating Gladiator 2. But first of all, now, I will say this. I'm going to say my point. Now, we all look at actors as rich and all that, but it's a lot of regular jobs affected in this too. Yeah. It's a lot of cameramen. It's a lot of audio people. It's a lot of people who not making millions.
Absolutely
affected by this. So in that case, I say it's a bad. But what y'all thoughts? Because a lot, I mean, they giving these people the business on TikTok and YouTube, like basically
Who's
like
giving who the business?
the actors who like they basically like on some job like okay. Now y'all want us to kill? Like y'all ain't did nothing when we was losing everything during COVID and nothing like that. But they basically saying now y'all want us to chime in that y'all not getting y'all money right now. So it's almost like the same feeling when them billionaires went down that submarine and it was just no empathy for the extremely rich. But they're still humans. But it was no empathy across the board. Basically, like that's rich people problems. That's what the temperature was across, America in a lot of ways. And that was the same way with actors, like, that's rich people problems. Y'all know about the actor strike, right?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And I will say this, for me personally, because it started with the writer's strike, and this is not the first time. I've watched for years the ebbs and flows of when the writers go on strike. And as a writer, I think the first writer's strike that I really saw and remember, I was in high school. And I was like, what is this about? Why are they striking? So I had I started to do my own research on what causes things or what prompts people to really kind of go into these situations. I will say the few actors that I've seen, just because I haven't been consuming a whole lot of social media in the past couple of weeks, but I did see Leslie Jones on TikTok address the actor strike, and I think she did it in a great way. So it hits all the points you're talking about. She's like, listen, I am fortunate. I am rich. I have done well for myself, but it took a long time for me to pop. But also, I represent a very small minority of the individual wealth in this industry.
Yeah.
Think about every extra. Think about the people that got a couple of lines. Think about the writers. Think about all the camera crew. Think about
audio.
When you see a scene on screen, the number of people, like, you see, like, for example, an episode of Friends, you're going to see 6 actors. The number of people making that scene happen. Yeah. And I would notice during award shows, these actors that I loved from movies and shows that I love would begin by saying, you know what, we have amazing writers. Because it's easy to kind of fall into that you buy into the show. Yeah. And so I'm going to stay with the Friends example. So you think Rachel and Ross are real people and not characters and not, David Schwimmer and Jennifer Aniston. Yeah. And you think that Phoebe Buffay is not Lisa Kudrow, and these are separate things. And writers created this world, So when it always struck me, even back in middle school and high school, and I would see on award shows, people thank the writers, and all these people that they would thank in their acceptance speeches, or people we never heard of. Yeah. But that always kind of resonated. I'm like, you know what? It counts in the credits. Yeah. And when you think about the percentage of millionaires and billionaires who get to the top of that celebrity part of those industries,
it's
such a small, when I say tiny fraction of it. And so it's always beautiful when you hear that level of that artistry advocate for because they know. Yeah. But Leslie Jones did a really great rant. Yeah. About like, listen, she's like, yeah, I made it, but she was like, most people don't. Yeah. She's like, how long it took for me to break through? And then even those people who do reach that status, you don't know who all they're caring for.
That's real.
You don't know.
You know what they're connected to?
What they're connected to. You don't know who they putting on. You don't know. Excuse me. And so, and because this particular strike is coming out of AI, and I already was taking issue with some of the writer AI before this strike even started. As a writer.
Speaking of AI, like the craziest thing about AI is like now one thing I thought was crazy, they trying to bring people extras in, pay them $200 to get a body scan, and
they can use that in perpetuity for
all eternity. That's the words used.
Yes.
For all eternity.
Yes.
That is crazy. I'm gonna
pay you $200 one time to get your image, and I can go and make millions and billions off of this imagery. I can come and put words in this imagery. I can really create an avatar of you, and you might be somewhere in a 1-bedroom apartment struggling.
For all eternity? That's crazy.
And then here's the other thing that and the other thing that people don't consider, because sometimes I would consider certain things, like why do certain celebrities need certain things? But when you do hit a certain level of status, you do need to be able to break away from everyday life. You know, where you talk about, like, Janet Jackson will say, listen, I just want to go out in the park. She will put on full disguises just to go out. So you do need enough money to support your life, because you are such a public figure that you can't just go to Target. You can't just go to McDonald's. You can't just go to Walmart without getting mobbed. You can't go. And imagine somebody that got paid $200 to be an extra in a film and get a scan that's used in perpetuity for all eternity. And then their image is put into a project where they are the front face of this thing. And this film is made. So they got all this celebrity coming because of their image, but they've only been paid $200 forever. And now they can't even. And so then you got to pay to get security and restraining orders and things like that, because people love you. And you can't even go out and live a regular life because you're famous, but you don't have any wealth to show for it.
Man, that's
just from the actors and the imagery side. From the writer's side, I take issue because I know what goes into the writing that I put out.
Yeah.
I know the words that live between the words that you actually read on paper. I know the research that informs this. I write with emotion, and I know how to put emotion into a sentence. Yeah. And I may not, like, even when I would interview people, I was like, tell me everything. It may not, and if you tell me that, hey, okay, I have clients, and I don't take anybody's trust for granted, but I've had clients, and I've done interviews, they were like, hey, I'll tell you this, but please don't include it in the article, or please don't include it. But I always respect that, but because they told me, it may inform a word choice that I actually do put in their bio or do put in the article, but because they were honest with me and vulnerable about something that I agreed to keep private, it does inform, and so I can still pull an emotion out of what they told me and still protect their privacy. AI cannot do that.
Yeah.
They have to, like Chat GPT and all that stuff, you have to study writers like me and able to spit out what you spit out.
So they're basically stealing your intellectual property.
Do you feel threatened by AI a little bit with AI writing?
No.
Okay.
Because of that.
But
because now do I see how it could eliminate a lot of writer jobs? Yes, I do. That's a very real thing. But if I strip it down to the heart of what I do as a writer, I'm not threatened by AI. Now, if you in a place where your writing and a certain type of writing sustains you, and that can be replaced with the technology, that is legitimate cause for concern. Yeah. But from just the pure art of writing, technology has to study what God put in me and the gifts that I have grown and honed over several years and continue to practice and grow. You have to study what's already been written, in order to pull this AI in to be effective. But I do think it does present a real danger to the workforce,
to everybody, to music industry,
yes.
to rap. But I mean, the only thing.
So I stand with the actors and the writers who are striking.
On a lighter note with that, like just to be funny, like, bruh, it's about to be. You know how dry it's about to be. Bro, we ain't about to have nothing. Bro, listen, all the actors gone, bro, Rerun Central. We about to be watching the Chinese karate movies with the, you know what I'm saying?
What I'm hoping happen, and I actually said this as a retailer, because I started working in retail before online shopping was a thing.
You ain't got no series coming out.
Okay, so let me go back to that. I heard an article where somebody who was an advocate for AI, and they were very enthusiastic, and I was like, this does not sound great to me, but it really is like living in that alternate universe. They were like, well, imagine, let's say you have a series that you don't want to end. Let's say you didn't want Friends to end. You could go into a system and type in the scenarios you want to see played out, and AI could spit out a script, and we have these images, and you can kind of get a show. But that's dangerous. You're gonna live in this technological world. It's like, I already have to pull back from shows that don't end. I like things to wrap up.
Yeah.
Like, I was in for Grey's Anatomy, but once we got to 17 seasons, I was like, listen.
Grey's Anatomy is from the devil.
It's great, but it really becomes that soap opera. But that can be dangerous. Here's the point I'm getting at. Same thing with retail, where I did it before online shopping. So I'm like, Black Friday will never be. It'll never be the height of what it was because I was in it before online shopping was a thing. It'll never be that again just because of that.
That was great.
But they were talking about closing down all these brick and mortar stores. And I remember working for a company who there was a real chance that it would go under during the pandemic. And you know, there were different scenarios of buyers to come and buy, and they really got the best case scenario. But one of them were like, "Hey, we believe in the brand, but we want to take it completely online." And I could see the appeal of that in this moment. But here's what you can see from the real side of it. It's just like, as much as people like the convenience of online shopping, and I'm not going to act like I don't online shop, but what I do know is that people will shop online, but if anything goes wrong, they will get in their car and drive and return to a store.
Yeah.
And at some point, if you make but like, listen to people that get frustrated with, like, for example, Cash App. If they have an issue with Cash App, that is completely